Hi everyone. I'm blown away by the response to my last video that was the story of my friend who was scammed by a love rat. Now, on the back of that story, which was quite a juicy one and a bit sad, and was showing about men really behaving badly, today my story time is completely different. It is about a local girl. I come from Essex, and this was an Essex girl of her day. We're going back to the 80s now. Her name was Susan Barber. Now, she was what probably my nan or your nan or someone's nan would have called a bit of a girl. She got married when she was 17, and she already had a 6-month-old daughter with someone else. So she got married very young for that time. Now people get married young anyway, but then that was very young, and she already had a child. Now she married Michael. Now Michael was, to all intents and purposes, and from what people gathered, he was known locally as quite friendly, nice chap. That people liked. But the truth was he actually had been in trouble with the police a few times for stealing cars, petty crime, and he'd also had run-ins with the police about an alleged indecent assault on his niece. It doesn't sound a very nice chap. But anyway, Susan married him and they set up home in Westcliff. They hadn't been married that long, and 3 doors down lived a young guy called Richard Collins, and he was 15 years old. Well, Sue sort of saw him about and took a little bit of a fancy to him, and before long she was initiating him into hanky panky, which he obviously really enjoyed because he was a 15-year-old guy, and he had this older woman, not much older, showing him the ropes. And when her husband was off, she had Richard in, so she was enjoying herself. Anyway, what happened was they would wait till her husband Michael went off to work. He used to work at Rothman's factory in Basildon. I don't even think some people will know that. It depends what age you are, but I don't even suppose that's there anymore. I don't suppose that exists. But anyway, that's where he worked, and he'd be off to work. The minute he was off to work, the kids were off to school because she had 3 children by then. He'd be in and in bed, and they'd be up to whatever they got up to. Use your imagination. Anyway, they'd be up to hanky panky. Well, what happened was one Saturday, Michael was going on a fishing trip, probably out Southend off the coast, to go sea fishing. Gets up really early in the morning, 4 o'clock. Soon as he's gone, she's on to old Richard. Richard's in, and they're getting at it. Well, Michael goes out on the boat to do a bit of sea fishing. Winds get up, it's too windy, so he has to come home. Catches them. Totally starkers. Chases Richard out the house completely naked and gives her a black eye. Then that's, obviously it's not the best thing. He's a bit upset, obviously, because he's just caught his wife with a young guy. Not only is he devastated, he's a bit, put his nose put out of joint. This guy's 15, 16 years old. Anyway, as a result of this, she's got a bit of a thick ear, and they end up going to doctors. They talk to the doctor. The doctor tries to counsel them and says, do you need to see a counsellor? Do you want to make the marriage work? Or do you, and she says, no, I don't want to split up. I want to make the marriage work. And he's happy because he's just an easygoing guy. He's just a typical guy. All he's interested in is playing darts, going to football. He's honestly not that type of guy. He's not that, not the brightest spark. So he's not worried. He just wants a happy and easy life. So they keep their marriage going. They decide to stay married. A little while later, not too far later, sort of couple of months, he starts to feel a bit sick at work. Comes down with a really bad headache, goes to the medical place at work, whatever, the nurse. She gives him a couple of paracetamol, a couple of aspirin. Think it'll be all right. He goes on his merry way. Anyway, to cut a long story short, by the time he gets home, he's feeling really, really rough. And then this goes downhill. And within 3 days, he's so bad. He can't breathe. He can hardly breathe. He's got a terrible sore throat. He's got a headache. He can't wee properly. He's just feeling really, really ill. I mean, he looks terrible. So of course they call the ambulance. Gets rushed to Southend Hospital. They take him in. They've got no clue what's wrong with him. Can't tell what's wrong with him at all. And then after 3 days, he is rushed to Hammersmith Hospital and put on intensive care. They do tests on him. They really, really can't tell what's wrong with him. They think it might be Legionnaire's disease. That's not positive. They test for that. They test for Goodpasture syndrome, which is a really rare disease that can affect all those sort of things, things that he's complaining about, kidney function, lung function, nothing. It's all clear for that. They can't find anything. One registrar comes up with the opinions just as a theory. Do you think it's possible he could have been poisoned? I think I've seen or I've heard about this sort of reaction to paraquat, which is a herbicide. It's an industrial herbicide. Well, they do a few tests of his blood and urine. Nothing that says it's this paraquat. So saying that, he just deteriorates and he dies. I think it was about the 27th of June he died. So it was a very short time period. It took about a couple of weeks from when he was taken ill. He's dead. Susan has been visiting him with Richard waiting outside for her, totally unconcerned. Doesn't seem to be having a lot of reactions to the fact that her husband has just died. And even when he was critically ill, she was a bit blasé, sort of as though, oh yeah, is he? Oh well, hopefully he'll get better. She wasn't really seeming to be heartbroken over the fact that her poor husband, was in a lot of discomfort and really, really ill. So it did raise a little bit of a red flag with the staff, but some people react, strangely, so they didn't really put it down too much. They just presumed that was her personality, Anyway, they go merry way. He gets cremated. Before he's cremated, his internal organs are put into a bucket of formalin, which, is like a preservative to keep them, because obviously the doctors are still baffled and they still are concerned about why, what the cause of death was. But because there's no suspicious circumstances that they can tell, they just don't know what he died of. So I don't know what to do. So they just that's just it for now. It's like that. She then goes on her merry way, organises a funeral tea, has a bit of a knees up round her house with Richard. Richard's there. When the neighbours come in, they're all very sad, but she sort of seems to be having a knees up. Basically, it's an excuse for a party. She gets a great big payout, £15,000 for the time, quite a lot of money. She gets a payout for each of her children, £300 each a year from his business, from his company. She gets a rebate of anything he's paid for that year into his pension. So she's done all right out of it. She's still going to receive quite a bit of money now. But then when she starts to get all this money, she knocks poor old Richard, who she'd been giving one all that time, on the head, and she gets a new living one. And apparently she got quite a few new ones. She was playing down the pub, playing darts, getting on the darts team. She got herself a CB radio, and her handle, if anyone remembers CB radios, was Nympho. So that's the sort of girl she was. She obviously liked that side of life quite a lot. So she had this handle, so she was meeting lots of guys on there. Unbeknown to her, although she was living this high life and now living like a single woman with this money in the bank and having quite a few different boyfriends, the medical profession, the police was still really a bit baffled by how poor old Michael had died. And they were still looking. And this particular Professor Evans, was looking at the organs in this bucket that had been preserved. And he got sent some slides of the organs tissue, and he started looking at it, and he realised that it looked possible that something dodgy had been ingested by Michael before death, because there was something there that shouldn't be there, obviously, on these slides. So then he informed the police that he thought this was the case, and then Susan was arrested. She was very shocked because she thought she got away with it. I mean, this was a year later. She thought she was home and dry, because what had happened was Susan had got fed up with Michael. She really wanted him out. He was cramping her style. So what she decided to do was she'd seen in his shed this grammar locks, I think it was called, or grammar socks. It was a funny name, but it was the name for paraquat. And he had worked for a gardener's at one point, and so in his shed he had this really old thing, a container of paraquat. And in 1974, paraquat had been updated because there'd been fatalities from it, and it was so noxious that the manufacturers had added a stenching agent, which meant it really was obnoxious. If you'd gone to eat it or put it in food, you'd know, you wouldn't. And also an emetic, so that if you did accidentally ingest it, you'd throw up. But the paraquat that was in the shed was pre-1974. It was really old. So obviously he hadn't known it was in his food. And what she'd done is she'd made him his favourite dinner, which was steak and kidney pie, and she'd put paraquat in the gravy. Well, she did it once, and she made the gravy and put paraquat in it and gave him the dinner, and she was a bit disappointed because she was expecting him to keel over straight away, which sounds so mercenary. Obviously that's what she was expecting, and he didn't. So she gave him another. Well, the thing with paraquat is, with this very noxious thing, it doesn't work immediately. It affects the organs gradually. So he probably would have got really ill from the first lot, but she didn't wait to find out, because it takes a few days and it hardens the lungs, so he'd have trouble breathing. It's a horrible thing. So because she didn't see any immediate results, she then gave him another lot in his next dinner. So he'd had the pie initially, the paraquat pie, and then she gave him some more. In fact, she admitted later on that she did give him 3, but she said she didn't want to kill him. She just thought she'd make him ill, and then he wouldn't want to be there. She could get rid of him, get him out of the way. Why that would work, I don't know. To me, that seems a bit suspect. But that's what her defence was, that she was going to just make him very sick so that he buggered off, basically, and she could have a life of Riley with her boyfriend. But she didn't end up with him anyway. But anyway, the police arrested her. She was charged with murder, and they also, because he had been there, he'd been aware that she was doing this, was the young guy from up the road, Richard, and apparently he got 2 years, because the judge said although he didn't do it, he was aware of what was going on. I think that was quite lenient. She got life. I do believe that she actually could be out now. So if you meet a bird who wants to make your paraquat pie and you've upset her in some way, mate, don't have it, because I think I'd be a bit suspicious of anyone who'd poisoned their husband and then wanted to make me a pie if I upset them. I'd say I'd skip the pie, just have a McDonald's. It's probably safer. But anyway. So that is the story of Susan Barber and the paraquat pie. And the funny thing is, if you want to look this up a bit more in depth, and you look up online and look for pictures of Susan Barber, you'll think, bloody hell, how did she manage that? She was a funny looking bird. I wouldn't say she's the most beautiful bird, but she obviously had something going for her, because she had quite a few boyfriends, and she managed to snare a 15-year-old. But I think that was probably more to do with experience, perhaps. But honestly, I hope you've enjoyed that story. I mean, it's not a happy story, but it's an interesting story. And it happened in Westcliff-on-Sea, which is basically up the road to me. I don't think we've had many murderers in Westcliff-on-Sea. I think actually the Brides in the Bath murderer lived in Westcliff for a little while. That's a long time ago. But we haven't had any other really people who've actually lived here, and it's quite rare to get a female, but females do tend to poison because obviously of strength and everything. They've had the odd woman who's stabbed someone or shot something. It's very rare. It's normally something like that, a more well, it's a nasty way to go, don't get me wrong. Paraquat poisoning is not a nice way to go, but it's not as hands-on, is it? You put the poison in, you step back. So anyway, my darlings, I hope you've enjoyed that story. I'm really, really blown away by the response to the last one. I'd love it if you want to leave a comment about this and subscribe to my channel, because obviously when I put any other videos on, which I will be doing, some more stories for you, you'll be advised when they're coming. And also, if there's anything you think I could do to improve my videos, obviously this is only my second one. I've done a couple of reviews for some products, but apart from that, this is my own second story time, and I'm doing it on my phone. I haven't got any Sprazzy equipment yet, but and I know I touch my hair a lot and things like that, and I probably shouldn't, but that's me. But if you've got any tips for me or anything that you think I could improve on, or there's anything you want me to talk about, or anything you want to hear, I'd love to hear from you. And I'm feeling the love from all the views of my last video. So please look at this one and tell me what you think. Speak to you again soon. Bye. Press the button.